What's up, guys, and welcome back to Stereotherapy. I'm your host, Lisa, and as always, Justine is right here with me. If it's your first time here, this is the show that showcases the importance of music and mental health. It would really mean a lot to Justine and I if you followed our show and left a rating. You can do that on any app you are currently listening to this right now. It really just helps us get out there and for everyone that would maybe benefit for a show like this and enjoy it. So again, as always, you can always find us on our website and Instagram, and we will put that link in our description. Today is a special one. Justine and I are celebrating officially 6 months of this podcast, which is wild to think about how fast it really flew by. I remember sitting down the second time with this podcast and recording our Circa episode, trying to just get it right after a failed attempt. And again, thank you so much to anyone that listens and enjoys this show because we love doing it. And we'll be also discussing World Mental Health Day. So Justine, how are we doing? What's going on?
Oh, not much. I'm, like so tired and drained after a busy day yesterday, but I'm here and I am excited to have the show today.
Oh, I know. I am too. I'm with you. I just feel like so I can't even believe what day it is today. I'm like, it's October 9th. Like I can't even believe we're into October and I'm barely getting all my Halloween stuff up. So I gotta pull it together a little bit.
Don't remind me. That means my birthday's coming up. So,
Ooh, we'll have to plan something. I know it's November. Hang on.
oh, oh,
November. Oh God. Watch. I'm gonna get
oh,
wrong. Jesus the second, but I think you're November. I want to say 5th or the 7th.
that's really funny it's the 5th,
Oh
but
my God.
it's really funny because, okay, so nobody could ever remember my birthday correctly in my family. And this is why. I know that sounds terrible, but this is why. So I was supposed to be born on the 6th. So my parents, for whatever reason, would still have like 6 in their brains for a hot minute when it came to like paperwork. But also, my grandparents' wedding anniversary was the 7th. So my grandpa always thought my birthday was on the 7th. So,
So look
people
at, I was right
always
in
mix
there.
up my day. So that's what's really funny that you said the 5th or the 7th. But I was like, right on par with the family. Yeah.
Yes, I got it. I swear I'm not an asshole. Like I remembered your birthday. We talked about this. It's all right. It's all good. But we're gonna have to do something like we'll think of something special for your birthday. Well, I'll
Oh
have to put
gosh.
something in there, like some kind of birthday episode or something. I don't know. I'll think of it.
Oh
Oh
man.
my God. Oh, but yeah, it just so wild. And I mean, let's just get into it. Let's just take a look back on 6 months of this podcast. And I mean, we've had gosh, this is going to be the 28th episode or 29th if you consider the little trailer thing I put out. Spotify wants to say it's 29. I think it's 28, whatever. It's somewhere in there. But thinking about that, what has been your favorite episode? And again, you could pick a few or you could do one. What has been your favorite episode we've done?
I would have to say probably like by far it's been Good Charlotte,
Yeah.
because like we really got to tap into our inner teens with that for sure. And then of course like My Chemical Romance,
Yeah.
obviously, just because, if anytime I can talk about them, I will. um as for like interviews, like I really loved the interview with Genevieve.
Yeah.
I just absolutely love and adore her, and I just really, really related with her a lot. So, what anything she brought up, but also just like her TikToks are fun, and I just love her. But also like Circa, obviously, because if it wasn't for Circa Survive, like it, we wouldn't have met,
No.
and then there wouldn't be a show.
No, you're absolutely like for sure. And I just agree too because it's just I've loved and too like if anyone that we interviewed is listening, like look, it doesn't mean that we don't love you. But I just think that there's
Yeah,
some like you resonate because I agree. Like I loved having Genevieve on too because like what you said, but also I just loved I don't know. I just loved her energy and she said so many
yeah, she has
great
amazing
things.
energy.
Like she is someone I hope we get to cross paths in person because that would be wonderful. I mean, anyone we've met, like but it's like, oh my God. Yeah, and, like, Good Charlotte for sure, like, 100%, and it's for other reasons too, which I know I'll get into at some point, but it was just so tough because I feel like I'll say one is gonna be my favorite today, but I know tomorrow I might be like, "Oh, well, what about this one?" But it's just so wild to think about everything, and I know that, like, things looked a little different where, like, I know you said there wouldn't be a show, but, like, somebody's gonna be like, "Well, you had a previous show." And, like, I'm just picturing that SpongeBob meme right now, you know?
The one I use all the time.
Yeah, like, okay.
Mocking SpongeBob.
Yeah, and it's like, yes, but I don't think there would be the show there is today without you, and especially, like, with Circa, because I think what we've built over these episodes and, like, what we've talked about with people and just what you've brought to this is just so special, where I don't think it would be I know it wouldn't have been because I was in it for a little bit, and it was definitely not what it is today without you. So, like, yes, like, but yeah, before anyone has that little SpongeBob meme, like, I could see it. You had it. I know. But I know, I feel like such an asshole being like the SpongeBob meme,
That's
but
literally the only reason why she thinks of the SpongeBob mocking meme now, though, because I use it all the time. Anytime somebody's like making me mad or she's frustrated, I'll send that picture, just pretending to be like whatever we're frustrated with, or
I
I use that meme a lot.
I love it. Like, it's living rent free. Like, I even did, like, nobody can see, but I did the little thing on my hip, like, that's the SpongeBob meme, but yeah, but it's like, for me, I'm gonna go with, our episode with Bailey Elizabeth Rogers, because
Yes.
Bailey was just someone that reached out to us early on, and she stuck around when, again, I had to relaunch this, and hearing her story and just one, that she had the trust in us to tell her story, because I guess to me, that's one of the things I guess I just value, that anyone does trust us, because you're coming on here and sometimes, like, we do talk music. We talk about how we love music, and especially if you're an artist, we talk about your work. But we also sometimes get into the mental health side of things too, right? And I think that she just had that trust with us, which I respected and was so appreciative of, because I still think of her always in, like, where is she at, and how much I just, much like with Justine and Good Charlotte saving your life, I think about how Bailey expressed, Andrew McMahon and his work. And I just think about that and what this podcast is about. And I think if I could put a picture of, like, this is what this podcast is, it would be her picture, and I just think
Yeah.
she's someone, and again, if you haven't listened to this episode, please go back and listen to it. I know it's a longer one, and when you're looking at it, you're probably like,
It's worth it.
It is
Yeah.
is absolutely worth a listen, and again, Bailey is just such a warrior, and again, just such an honor to have her on, and if you're listening to this, Bailey, we love you, and I appreciate everything you've said and done, and I think so many people got a lot out of your episode. So for sure her, and I gotta get my honorable mentions, like Circa for sure. Again, because like you said, it's like how we met. And it was our first one we ever recorded together. And I remember
Yeah.
sitting there trying to get it right. Like we did it a couple different ways. And somewhere there's like three different versions of it, because I was like,
There
oh,
were, yeah.
like that doesn't sound good. That audio, whatever. And for sure. And again, because it's like I knew within the little bit of recording that one, and obviously we're not complete professionals here, but I remember just telling you a little gist, like, okay, this is what we're gonna do, blah, blah, blah. And then we get into it, and I was like on the other end, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be so good. Like, I'm so glad Justine is here with me, because I knew it was gonna work and be so good. And then again, I gotta go with Good Charlotte again, because I know it was just released, but, it was such like you said, it's such a healing thing, because for so long we were saying that you were called a poser if you listen to them.
Mhm.
Again, we adored this band growing up, and our gateways and just meant the world, and I mean, I have to bring it up. I don't care if anyone says, "Oh my gosh, you're bragging, guys," but how they shared our podcast with their Instagram followers, and I know I haven't, I know you haven't, because 'cause we've talked about it, have not recovered from that. And again, like, it's not about the likes or even the share, but just to know your favorite band that meant so much to you, back something you put out. It just means so much. I'm sure that someone is rolling their eyes about now because maybe they don't like Good Charlotte or the amount of times we brought this up. But honestly, I guess I'm just done holding back that joy, like for so long I would closet that and tone it down. Like
Mhm.
I'm just like, fuck it. I don't
Yeah.
care. I'm ecstatic about this. This is so amazing, incredible, and validating, and I don't care. That's how I feel right now, everybody. And not in a bad way, but yeah, I mean, there's just so many, like, again, I could list so many different episodes. I mean, even like Steve with his podcast and learning
Mhm.
how he does it, and he's so successful at it, and Zach with his band, and Cody with his band, and Grayson, and just oh my god. And we have a guest next weekend too, which I'm really excited about. Our first international one. So we're gonna have to see how that goes. But I'm excited. But I just think, oh, just so exciting. So I guess if anyone has a favorite too, let us know. Cause that would be really awesome to know what your favorite was and which one really hit. But I guess we gotta ask too, Justine, is what has been your favorite moment of this podcast so far?
Well, get ready to be annoyed, guys, because I'm bringing it up again. Ha Having interaction from both Anthony Green and Good Charlotte with likes and shares, like, might not seem like a lot to some people, but the fact that they took the time to do that when they absolutely didn't have to.
Right.
But, like, also because with my ex being just as into Circa as I have been, there was this, like, deep kind of irrational fear for me that he might have somehow badmouthed me to the band, and that, like, I constantly felt like they hated me or that I was a horrible person, which I know seems like a really big, crazy reaction to have. And like, cause like they're bands, like, why does that matter? But he had actually done that with quite a few people in my life. So I had this built up fear that all this was probably said to them that wasn't true, or it was just a horrible feeling because of the fact of what have had happened with other people in my life, which luckily most of the people that mattered, they knew wasn't true. So Anthony supporting us was very healing for me in particular, and it was just, and of course, like with Good Charlotte, like, oh my god, it was just so shocking
Mhm.
because they're so big, and but also for like any other band to interact in any way like that, the one that saved my life for the first
You're
time
right.
is wild, and it just hit so hard that I had happy tears. Like, I was ecstatic, and I'm always gonna feel like that over that interaction, and so, like, I understand that people are probably like, "Oh my god, guys, like, stop bragging or stop talking about it," but,
Yeah.
like, it seems like such a little thing to like or to share, but, like, this is coming from people that helped change our lives. So, it's like, those moments are gonna always stick with me forever. Like, I'm gonna be an old woman in the nursing home and talking about Good Charlotte, sharing my podcast, and they're gonna be like, "Okay, grandma, we don't know who that is. We don't care."
No, I'm with you in that because I first thought of you too. Like obviously, uh that's a moment for me too and Circa for sure because again, like it's someone that's a huge part of your life take notice and it's so big, but I thought of you both times. Like I remember with Anthony doing that and again all on his own and I think for
Mhm,
me it was wow, Justine, like, because right away, and even with Good Charlotte, it was just like, Justine, like, yes, growing up, Good Charlotte was everything. And I could tell my 16-year-old self, hey, it's okay that you like this stuff. It's okay that you are who you are and you kind of remained that way. But for you, like, literally saying how Good Charlotte has literally saved your life, and then having them, hey, let's share this with our fans. We want them to hear this too. That was a huge thing, and I think, again, I was more just like, "Oh my god, Justine," like, because of I know even though it meant a lot to me. I know for you in both ways, both of those shares, both of those moments meant so much for so many so much more bigger reasons than, "Hey, you got a like and a share." So
Yeah.
it was like, "Oh, yes, I'm so happy, like, for you to be validated like that," because, and that was another reason I was really worried at first to have you on, and not, like, in a way of, like, "Oh, I was worried," but, like,
Yeah.
it was because of what you went through, and I didn't wanna put you in some compromising position either, so I was like, "Oh, I really don't wanna do that," and I was really glad that you got the validation and it's been okay because it was like, "Oh, I gotta protect Justine." So it was like, there's just something like having them back us. And I guess for me, it was just another favorite a moment. Can I talk to a moment is every Tuesday when I get that little alert that like our podcast is out there and it's all good, because I know someone somewhere is listening to this little thing we created and worked so hard on. And I think so many don't realize the effort sometimes that goes into things like this.
Yeah.
We're constantly working on this. And I think it's amazing when I see people connecting with it and just mm, that they're not feeling alone, much like I did for so many times in my life, and to see it reaching those people and maybe find a little bit of themselves in it, or maybe, if it's a memory or something when we talk about the band ones we do, and I truly think about, like, the subscribers, likes, followers, and just it's just so thankful for that, and to know that anyone takes their time out of their day to do anything like that, it's just so priceless, like, especially, like, likes, it's not about the number, but it helps push because the algorithm sucks, like, let's just be honest, it sucks. So, like, when you like or comment, and I saw that with the Good Charlotte one, like, when they posted it or other people reposted it or they liked it, it was pushing it to more people, which was really, really exciting because it was like, "Oh, other people are gonna see this that may like it and may get something out of it and feel less alone." So, like, so, so appreciative of that, and it just is, and I guess, oh, I just love looking back on that and those moments and stuff, and it's I guess if there's anything, if you could go back and tell yourself about this podcast that you know now, that I guess you wish you knew starting out when I was like, "Justine, you're gonna do this with me," or you went to me. I remember no, you went to me. You were like, "Hey,
Yeah.
I would do this with you." That's what happened. But, like, what would that be? Like, if you could, like, tell yourself something.
It would be not to be scared to share your story. So I would tell myself, like, your ex is going to find out regardless because he did.
Mhm. Yeah.
um, and it doesn't matter because there's nothing he can do to you anymore. So don't be silent. Share your experiences because they're going to help people. And it's all for good reason. Short and sweet, but yeah.
No, but no, that's so true because, like I said earlier, that was a concern of mine
Yeah.
for you. And I love that because I don't know if you saw any of our posts, but we're trying to open this podcast up to just people like us, right? And not just artists or anyone in the music industry. Like we would love for other people too, but the fact that just anybody that has a story, because we all have one, and that we would love to hear your story, and your story is, and it kind of came along because when we were on Jess and Chris's podcast, Jam XP, and which everybody should check out, by the way. It's but I remember when we were on there and I thought about that awesome conversation we had with them. And that's kind of what brought it on too, was like we can have these conversations just with people like us, right? They don't have to be
Yeah.
in a band. They don't have to be an artist or whatever they do in the music industry or have a podcast or whatever they are. Like we can have them. And it kind of showed me like, look, like we should really have opened that door up. So if anybody wants to share their story, again, this is so laid back. Anyone that's ever done this with us, like you can wear your pajamas, you can wear whatever. We just grab the audio, and you can go ahead and share your story. So if you would like to, you can contact us on our Instagram, you can on the website, you can any of
TikTok.
that. TikTok, yes. Yes, we have a TikTok, everybody. I'm trying. But it's like things like that. I think you can do any of that. And I'll have all those links in the description. So click on one, let us know. We'd love to have you on, share your story. It's so laid back, I promise. But I love that you said that because I guess it mine's kind of similar a little bit where it's like, don't be so hard on yourself. And I
Yeah.
constantly still beat myself up over an episode if I listen and I'm like, oh, why didn't I catch that? Or like the ending cut off. And oh, I said like a little too much there. And just to relax a little more and realize you aren't a professional and that this is fun. And I think just for so long, it's because I wanted to do something with music, and so for me, it was like, "Okay, I've had so many hiccups along this journey, and this is the time to do it, so I have to do it perfect." And the reality is, no matter how perfect you think you are or you got it down pat, I have to realize someone will nitpick it anyways. So why stress about it? And just the internet is working its way these days, and that someone could be a little keyboard warrior and something you thought was perfect and you worked really hard on, it doesn't matter. So like as long as it's cool with me and you and we're happy with it, that's all. And I'm at that point now. But like early on, no, I wasn't. Uh but there's always someone that's gonna have something to say. But I guess this podcast really taught me too that um what hard work really is. And I know that sounds really silly because like in my profession and this and that, but I thought I knew, but I mean again, I'm constantly working on this, thinking about this, seeing something and being like, "Hey, let's add this, let's try this." So it's Justine and it's like, why didn't I think of this before? And I guess I'm going back to that younger self and just say, just start it. Like, don't wait if you have some idea you want to get out there because the longer you wait, the earlier you're going to be like, why didn't I do this sooner? I just wish I would have done it earlier on. And with Justine, it would have saved a lot of time on certain parts of it. I think that but I'm glad we're here. We're here where we're at. So that's good. But I guess I would just say that too, because now I'm at the point, like I said, whether you love a topic, you don't love a topic, you get annoyed. Oh, I lost a follower here. Oh, I lost this. I'm at the point where it's like, this is what it is. I'm happy with our product and it is what it is. So that's how I feel. But I guess we have to kind of talk about, because when this comes out, it's going to be World Mental Health Day, which is so crazy that all worked out that way. And I think it's so fitting, but it's so important. And it's just is World Mental Health Day means a lot because obviously growing up, we didn't have days like this. Or at least it wasn't talked about. But then doing some research, yes, we have. This day has actually been around since 1994. I guess we never really talked about it like we do now. Um,
Yeah.
had no idea. But they always have a theme, and their theme this year is mental health is a universal human right. So let's kind of just get into that a little bit. And I mean, Justine, what do you think and make of mental health as a human right?
Well, first off, make healthcare accessible to everyone.
Yeah, right?
uh, yeah. The cost to not only take care of your mind, but your body is just out of hand.
Mhm.
And on top of that, a lot of times mental health isn't even included with regular healthcare. So even if you have insurance, sometimes it's hard to just find therapists that's in network, which I just all those hoops make it so impossible to get help. And besides the problems of capitalism, is is to end the stigma with like education of various mental illnesses, and like people are not just being crazy, and they're actually great human beings deserving of friendship and deserve to be taken seriously regardless of that mental illness.
No, I'm with you because that's like I did wrote in my notes something similar to that because it's the accessibility. I think that's what we have to
Mhm.
do. And I would just love if now World Mental Health Day is great. I think it's great to have that, and especially for anyone struggling to see that, whether they think it is authentic or not, someone posting about it, whether it's a celebrity. But I think that I would just love if we kind of walked that walk. Like, okay, they're posting about World Mental Health Day. We talk about our organizations. We talk about what we can do to try and end the stigma, and but it's still not accessible for so many people.
Mhm.
I've struggled with that for years. People would tell me like, I would love to see a therapist. Now I'm in the position to, but for a long time I was not. You were denied, or if you find one in network or out of network that you love and you're like, yes, this is the person, but they're out of network, so you're going to pay sometimes 200 plus for a session. And I think people have to say, well, I can't afford that. And I know that there are apps like BetterHelp, and other things that are free, but sometimes not dogging that if you found comfort in that kind of apps. And I think it's great for accessibility. But sometimes, as we all know, if something is free, you just have to make sure you find the right setting or the right person, because I think
Mhm.
while it's great we have an app like that, I do know people that have said a little bit of negative things too. So I think we're not really there yet. And I guess again, I would just love if we really started walking the walk, because I just again, there's so many issues with mental health care, and I think whether it is the affordability or I guess for me, it's also like, I think I know this is a pipe dream, but if somehow in jobs, and I've never had PTO, so I know if I say this and people are like, oh, my job doesn't have PTO. I've worked in early childhood education or was a waitress, bartender, a retail extraordinaire. I never really had PTO, but like I would love if somehow our jobs, like we made it so it wasn't just such a rough thing to be like, "Hey, I'm having a bad mental health day. I need to take a day." And I know it's already hard enough to take a sick day at jobs, so I get it. I know this is a big pipe dream, but I guess I just like these companies that are posting on World Mental Health Day. I wish they would walk the walk again, and they would really say, "Okay, let's allocate maybe mental health days in this PTO," or and again, I know, like, someone out there is like, "Yeah, right." I know, because I know it's, like, maybe never gonna happen, but I just think that there's so many things, like, for me, I can't tell you how many days I'm like, just barely getting by, and when maybe if I had a day with whatever was going on, it would just be so wonderful, and I think so many can relate, and I think we need to view mental health, whether you have an illness or, it's just something like we treat it as a physical ailment, because it's just important to treat it the same way even when you don't see it. And I know, Justine, you've mentioned that so many times that I think people look at these things, and although you don't see it, whether it's chronic pain, the things you deal with when you talked about your nerve pain, and it's like, yeah, maybe you don't see it, but people are dealing with things, and especially if it is a mental illness. And I think people just try and push it aside a lot. So I think we need accessibility. I think we need a lot of people on board to truly just really make it that human right. So I hope that's what we see from World Mental Health Day to come, because I do. Because it's like I love the posts. I love the idea of World Mental Health Day, but I think it's much like when Black Lives Matter happened. Everybody posted the black square, and then okay, we went
Yeah.
back to business as usual.
Yeah, and then kind of forgot about the movement.
Yeah, so it's like I just
Like,
wish, and
I
I
never forgot. I
right.
don't know what happened with the rest of you, but, like,
Right.
yeah.
And I think it goes back to that. And I just again, we're gonna see so many posts on this day, and I think it's incredible. And I think it's especially if you do feel alone, it is incredible to see people post and be on your side. But we have to, past this World Mental Health Day, we have to still keep doing what we want to do to make it accessible for everybody and have the right people in power do it. Like I hate saying people in power, but I mean they are. And I wish we had those people that in office to actually make the changes, because yeah, they haven't been there. But
Mhm.
it's like our podcast is like all about mental health awareness. And I love that we are getting to a place where even, we can sit here and have conversations with others about mental health and helping further end that stigma. But, I think I already know, Justine, but how important is it for you to end the stigma um, surrounding whether it is mental illness or mental health?
I mean, it's pretty important. Like,
Yeah.
it's
I
kind of
mean, come on, I
what I
know.
base my life around, but,
Mhm.
um but to kinda, like, circle back a little bit on what I was saying earlier, that, like, people with mental illness are still humans and deserve to be treated as so, and, like, we should be seen as people first, not our mental illness first. Like, we deserve friends, jobs, and healthcare just because, like, we deserve it just as much as somebody without mental illness,
Mhm.
unfortunately, because I've seen so many people say they lose their jobs because they had a mental breakdown, or like they don't get healthcare the way they should because like they deal with doctors that are gaslighting them
Yep.
because of their mental illness. Or like I see a lot that happens to do with the autism community, that we're gaslit more because like we tend to research more, so we're gaslit like we don't know what we're talking about. You have people that can't keep friends because their friends can't deal with what happens in their mental illness. And it's just like we're human, treat us like that. Don't act like we're just crazy. Like with, the whole thing with Britney Spears, for instance, like, she dances a lot on Instagram. That's what
Yeah.
makes her happy. That's always what made her happy. But suddenly now, because we see an older woman who's not quite as polished like she was when she was on stage, that like either there's something horribly conspiracy wise happening to her, but the fact is it's like but she also has bipolar. Like she
I
so she
didn't
could
know
be
that.
this.
So
Yeah,
so
she
she's
has
officially
bipolar.
diagnosed? Like, I did not know
Yeah,
she's come out. Wow.
like that was part of like why she was in a conservatorship, because of her bipolar. And like that's the thing, it's like somebody who has mental illness has displaying what seems like crazy, like, and you don't want it to be that. Like, you want it to
Mhm.
be that, like, there's still people, like, holding her captive, or, like, I like, that's not her, she's been dead for years, I think is another one I
Oh,
saw. I'm
yeah.
just
Oh,
like,
yeah.
"Oh my gosh." Like, yeah, I've been sucked into the black hole of all these conspiracies, not because I believe in them, but just because of how outlandish people will go to say what's going on with her. But the fact is, like, Britney Spears is somebody that has mental illness, and she has the right to dance and do it unpolished, and that's what she does for content anymore. Like, let her do that. Like, I'm fine with it. I love it. Like, let her, like, you do you, queen. Dance, be happy. You're not controlled by your father anymore. Do what makes you happy. And then you have all these other people just like being just completely outlandish with it. Like, it's she's still human. Let her do what makes her happy. And if it's not the same as you, like, that's fine. That doesn't mean you get to like make up all this stuff about her, you know?
Yeah, I think that's the thing too. Like, I did not know that. I knew,
Yeah.
and I think that also shows, like, I think a lot of people too, when you see the comments under things or this, and we still see these narratives of, well, she's crazy. She needs to be
Yeah.
locked up. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
That's
'Cause,
why
like,
we
that's another thing you hear, and then I see something where
Mhm.
it's like, "Well, she needs to be put in a conservatorship against." No,
Right.
she doesn't. No, she
Yeah.
doesn't. Like, you can be bipolar and not have people control your lives. Like, I
Mhm.
don't like, let her be her. Let her do what makes her happy. So she likes to dance and, not completely covered up. That's fine. Let her do that. She's not hurting anybody. So, like, why do we need to attack it? You know what I mean?
No,
So
absolutely. I agree with you with that because, like, that's I think when I see comments under her stuff specifically, I just know we have such a long way to go still because
Exactly.
we're
Yeah.
still looking at people, and it's like maybe Britney Spears won't see your comment. Well, I think because she has comments off now
She
anyways.
shut them off now, and I'm sure
Yeah.
it's because of that.
And I'm sure, and I think people have to understand, like, people, maybe she didn't see them or won't see them wherever you post it, but someone else struggling out there is going to see those. And
Yes.
especially I notice that when I see people that are close to me, or I know and I see them and they are literally saying things about anyone struggling with a mental illness or whatever it is. Oh, they're crazy, or oh, they're this, or again, being gaslit by doctors, which is a real deal thing, or gaslit in general, which contributes to your mental health. And I see some comments under stuff. I'm just like, oh, keep scrolling, and like, don't pay attention. But it sticks with me because I'm like, I'm struggling out there. I struggle with my anxiety disorder, with my hopefully future ADHD diagnosis I'll get and have that validation. And I think for me, it's just like, if I see people around me make comments like that, it's like, well, what the fuck? Like, I'm struggling. Someone close to you is struggling, and yet you're gonna say these, you
Mhm.
have to be mindful because people out there that are struggling don't want to see that. And I think that it's not surprising to hear Britney Spears still struggles right now. And I know I'm kind of going off topic on that, but it's important to talk about
Yeah.
Britney Spears because I think with her, she grew up in a time in that business and in a time where a lot of things went on, probably even more that like
Mhm.
we don't talk about. And then her family, the fame, the marriages, the men that followed her and just were
Yeah, the mult
awful.
so many men that completely just manipulated her
Mhm.
constantly, which thank goodness she's away from this newest husband that
Yeah, I
she had.
saw that. Yeah.
I've kind of wondered that for a while if he had, some bad intentions, so I'm glad she's away from him now. Um, but yeah, it's just I think that's also another thing that people just don't think about. Like, as us as millennial women, like, we have all been attacked for our bodies, you know, and just completely scrutinized, like how big we are and
Yep.
weight. And now think of that, but with all the world's eyes on you, because she was dealing with it a lot. And like, I even saw an interview with her, and it was like a male interviewer. Okay. I don't know who it was. I can't remember. But he made a comment about her breast, and she was underage at the time. And
Oh
it was
God.
so gross. And it was like, okay, like we've all kind of dealt with that. But to think of it at the height that she had to deal with it, like I think people forget that a lot. So
No,
it's
I'm
like,
trying to remember because I've seen that a lot of times on, like,
yeah.
whether it's TikTok or whatever, and I remember seeing that. So I'm like, "Oh, who was that?" I don't not Howard Stern or, like,
No, I don't
Jay
think it was anybody
Leno. I
super
don't know,
big
but it was I
in the US. I think
but
it was somebody else, or at least, like, not to that capacity of
right,
a talk show host, but still, it's like
but
but she was getting those comments, you know,
and
and
I agree with you
oh,
with that too, with the whole body thing, because that's something too when
yeah.
you deal with a mental illness. Like, I fluctuate. So when you see me, maybe I'm a little, I I don't know the right word to say it, but maybe I'm a little bigger than I was last time. I might be going through some shit, but also when I got super, super thin, I was going through a lot, and everybody is like, "Oh, great job, great job." And like, constantly as a woman, if you're too big or you're too small or you're this, you're that. And
Mhm.
I think that all contributes to that. And I just I hope the best for her, and I hope that,
Yeah.
she's
I
able
kinda feel
to.
like, this could be an episode in the future that we kinda
Yeah.
discuss Britney Spears
Oh, for
and
sure, because
every
she's
because she's a big topic.
and it goes back to, like, the industry and what they've done and how they kinda
Mhm.
turned their backs on her. Very rarely do you see a lot of people in the industry come to her defense. Now, I don't know her
Yeah.
personally, I don't know what's going on, but you don't see people because I don't know, but I mean, you don't see it, and you kind of see their backs turned a little bit on her. When at a time it was the opposite, and they loved everything to do with Britney Spears.
Yeah.
So it also goes back to mental health a little bit. Like that's why
Yeah.
for me it's important to end that stigma because growing up we were told to either suck it up if you were going through things, and it's like I get it. It was kind of like a different time period with our parents and everything, but uh it just I think it just really I don't know. I just again, we have such a long way to go, and I think when I tell people that I have an anxiety disorder, people are like, "Oh, I get worried too." And
Mhm.
it's a completely different situation. I know that anyone else can relate to that that has anxiety. And it's 2023 and we still have this issue. And again, I'm respectful of the fact that if you don't have a disorder or struggle with mental health, you have no idea what it's like. But it doesn't mean it's okay to downplay anyone else that is truly
Yeah.
struggling because whether it's
It
a
happens a
disorder or
lot.
not, it
It
does. It
happens a
does.
lot.
And it's like, it's not okay.
Yeah.
Like, I respect the fact you don't know. However, we need to be respectful of the fact that I am struggling. And I think it's not a lot to ask. And I think we truly think what we really need to do is that in the reality that no one will really understand truly what you are going through at times. But I think if we can take a step back and just listen to the people and truly not just wait your turn to talk, but listen to them and what they are experiencing. And I think we can truly help end that stigma. And I can't tell you how many times I have had thoughts or have said things that I know are a little irrational to some people. But when I feel heard and
Mhm.
seen, I truly feel like, okay, they understand me a bit. So even if they
Yeah.
don't and they don't get the full scope of things, I think I would just love to see in the future generation really have the options that maybe we didn't have like with the access because if I had and I think I would have understood a lot more of myself and not gave in to certain people around me, much like we were just talking about with Britney Spears.
Mhm.
And really like I would have maybe had different things just go on in my life. If I understood what was going on with whether it was the gaslighting or my own mental health. Um, but I think the worst thing at times is when people say that I'm shy. And I know some people are gonna be like, whatever. But like when I'm really anxious, I'm going to be a little quiet. And maybe I just sit and observe what's going on, not knowing how to relax. And it's like when you really kind of put me in those situations and point that out as someone who struggles with anxiety, it's like I already know right now I'm being a little like, quiet in this setting. But it's like, don't point it out to people that you think I'm
Mhm.
shy because I'm not. And then I get very like, no, I'm not. It's my anxiety right now. I don't know what to do in this situation. So I'm kind of trying to calm myself. And again, to anyone else, it's like, oh, who cares that they called you shy? But I just think it can trigger some things in you. Especially for me, it does because it's like I'm not shy, but like right now I'm really anxious, but I can't sit here and tell you I'm really anxious right now and I'm about to have like an anxiety attack, because it's like, oh, you can talk about it, but maybe if I'm not comfortable, uh later on I've been more comfortable, like especially when we play that stupid game Taboo. I hate that game with a passion. And anyone that has anxiety or whatever, I think you can understand what I'm talking about with that game. Have you ever played Taboo?
I don't think I've ever played it. Like,
Oh
I
my
know the
god.
game, but what is the premise of it
So,
again? Like,
basically, you play it and you get little cards. You're on 2 teams, and you get 2 cards, and it'll say, like, a name like, say breakfast or something, and then underneath it'll say words you cannot say, right? So whether it's, like, pancake, eggs, morning, or whatever, it'll give you words you cannot say. Then you
okay.
have to your team, you have to describe this word at the top of the thing without saying these words. And I'll read the words, and I am watching everybody go in front of me when I play this damn game. And I'm just like, okay, maybe I get a good card. Maybe I get a good card. So I'm sitting there and I remember getting a card and I remember reading whatever it was a mountain or whatever the hell it was. I don't even remember what the hell. But anyways, it was a word. And then I immediately was like, I don't know what to say. And like I start saying words that are on the do not say list. And
Oh
some
no.
people by me are like, because your team could look at it. And
Yeah.
when, or no, the other team can look at it to make sure you're not saying them. So anyways, and they were like saying, oh, she's saying that. Oh, she's saying that. And I remember one of the times I played it, someone's like, they went and they're like, yeah, don't freak out, don't freak out, because I freaked out, right? The next person. And I remember just feeling so just, I hate this game and it's hard to explain to people that. And so over time, after being stuck in that situation with taboo, as stupid as it sounds to everybody, I remember telling, gee, I will never play this game. It makes me really anxious. It sets me off. Everybody around me has something to say, like, oh, they're freaking out, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to deal with that. I don't need to unload all this.
Yeah.
So it's games like that, like even stuff like that can really trigger things into people. And I think we have to
Yeah.
understand
No, it
maybe
totally can.
maybe when we see things like that go on, instead of say they're freaking out or relax or whatever, just be like, you know what? Maybe, like I just shut up. Like, we all want to win. Like that's all I have to say. And it's just, again, maybe just taking extra steps and being somebody that isn't going to say some stupid comment would really help people. I know for me struggling, and it's just, I think something else with ending the stigma is maybe taking those extra steps and being someone to reach out if you don't get a response all the time too. Because like I recently reached out to someone I know who is going through it right now, and they reached out to me a while ago, and so I reached out to them. I haven't heard from them in a while, and I didn't get a response. And I'm going to try again at some point without being overbearing. But I think just letting people know that you're there and when
Hmm.
they're ready is huge to end that
Yeah.
stigma. And maybe that person on the other end is going through it, and like to see someone's reaching out means so much. So I guess just to end the stigma is like be there for people. I guess, yeah, like 100% just be there for people. Like whether it is, you see someone playing taboo. I just laugh because like it's like the joke with G and I. I'm like, I'm never playing that game. But or they're going through a hard time, and just I think just it's so important to end the stigma. And I think we've made progress. We are not out of the woods yet with that, because there's still such a stigma. Because I know when I tell
Yeah.
people like when I'm going through, it's, oh, you're just having a bad time or a bad day. I'm like,
Yeah. It,
not so much. I wish.
it it's constantly, or like I'll say it, I'm having a bad flare day. And it's
Hmm.
like, well, I hope you get better. It's like, here's the thing, I'm not gonna get better. It's like so frustrating. It's like I understand that it's like, they're just trying to be good intent, there's good intentions there. But at the same time, it's like whenever it's like a chronic illness or anything like that, it's like it doesn't get better. It's just sometimes other days it's just not as bad. So sometimes it just kind of gets frustrating whenever you get that kind of response. But like it's just that, or like when it comes to like autism symptoms or something, I'll like bring it up that it's like it's the autism or whatever, and it's always like, oh, everybody's a little bit autistic, which is not true. Or you're using your autism as as a reason to like not do something or something
Hmm.
like that. Sometimes that happens
Yeah.
too.
Oh my God. Yeah. Like I not
And it's
you're
like,
different with
no.
autism, like your autism, but like let me
Yeah.
tell you, with my anxiety, or like when I have seasonal depression. I know everyone wants to make a joke about it, like on TikTok when it's like cold, and
Yeah.
you know, I legit have it where the holidays are not an easy time for me at all, and I have it, and I have to pull myself. It takes everything in G, like, to be like, "Lisa, come on, it's Christmas, like, be cheery," and I'm like, "Yeah," like, and then I don't wanna be a stick in the mud or, like, about it, but there's certain situations where people will say that, "Oh, well, because you're anxious, you're not letting yourself enjoy it, or you're not this." Believe me, I wish I could. Like, a normal, like, I don't wanna
Yeah.
say normal, but, like, I wish I could just be like that, but it's like, I think I
But it's like also where it's like, okay, where people think that like saying it's autism is you're just using it as an excuse. It's like, no, I'm telling
Mhm.
you what's debilitating for me. So like
Right.
even if it's not autism, like, or if it's actually my anxiety disorder,
Mhm.
like it's not an excuse. I'm giving you an explanation
Right.
for
Oh,
why
that
this is
oh,
hard for me.
that is so perfect what you just said. Like, I think that's something we have to carry into this too, is like, it's not an excuse, it's an explanation. Because a lot of people
Yes.
do like to say that. Because I will tell people, like, hey, if I haven't responded to you in a while, or if I haven't done XYZ, hey, this is what's going on. I'm having a really bad mental health day. Like, I barely showered today. And I'm trying to say what, and again, I'm explaining, but a lot of people are quick to say it is an
Mhm.
excuse, and I think that's a problem too, for
Yeah.
sure. Like, it's a big problem, and I love that you said that, and I think if anyone takes anything, like, what we're talking about, definitely take what Justine just said, because it's so important. I love that, and I guess this kinda goes into that a little bit too, is what advice, I guess, do you have for anyone that's struggling right now?
Is to remember that life is a roller coaster. It's got ups, it's got downs, but even though the downs sometimes feel like it's never ending and it's not going to get better, it does eventually. And those better days are worth waiting for to get through
Mhm.
those bad days.
Oh, 100. I love that you said that because, again, like, I know we are not professionals by any means, but I just, I think in my worst moments of mental health, like, I think back on the 4 years, I never thought I would get to this place. And I just wish I would tell anyone that it does get better. Like, whatever that better looks for you, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you can take showers more regularly.
I was
Maybe
gonna
you
say, I
can.
would say that it gets better doesn't mean it's going to be without bad too,
Mhm.
because I feel like that, and that's again to go back to like what I said, where it's life's a roller coaster because you're never going to be without the bad. It's always going to be there, but it's the fact that remembering that it is always temporary, even though it seems like, you could be having really bad luck where it just seems like bad thing after bad thing after bad thing is happening, but it does actually get to a better point. It always does. So you just have to get through that horrible patch with whatever it takes. It could be a day by day thing. Like, like I made it into the shower today,
Mhm.
or, and you have these little feats. That's fine. But it's to remember that, like, the good days are going to happen again. It's not forever, no matter how horrible it seems, because trust me, I know I've been through some really horrible things. But if I didn't make it through those horrible times, I wouldn't get to where I am now, which I am so grateful for, you know? Like, I still struggle a lot. Like, I'm at the best point in my life. And when I still have my bad days, they're still pretty bad, with chronic illness and everything. Like, my days can be pretty rough, but I wouldn't trade anything for where I'm at now because I am happy despite those bad days. And you guys will be too. And it's just something to remember. Like, you will get out of it. We all always do. You just got to get through it to get to the better points.
Yeah, I agree with that so much because, like I said, I last year, honestly, there was a point where I didn't know if I would still be here in many ways, and it was really hard, and I could not see that light at that end of the tunnel. And now that I'm in one way out of that, and I am out of that situation, I'm still in a position of bad shit still happens, but looking back, I am so glad that I'm, 1, still here, and 2, that it does get better. And again, like, whatever better looks like for you, because it's, and I think
Yeah.
one thing to say too is, like, I think one of the things that's really helped me is to prioritize myself when I'm having going through a really hard time, bad mental health day, or just bad string of events, because we've all had them,
Hmm.
is not be afraid to stand up for yourself and what makes sense for you, even if it doesn't align
Yes.
with other people. Because my thing is, there's been many times when I've had going through it, and I stood my ground and I stayed in instead of forced myself out. Um, and again, it was the best thing for me, and I kind of had that power to do so instead of just like, oh, I need to go do this dinner that I cannot go. And I think sometimes it is good to power through, but I think sometimes it is really nice to give your body and mind what it needs. And I also think that, like you said, it won't last forever. But I think for me, there's so many moments where maybe it was a barbecue or something, and, like, we were supposed to go, and I just was not in the mindset to go, and what made me feel better was staying in my pizza blanket that I have, and my favorite snack, and just let me mentally deal with it and have my mental health day, so to speak, and just do it. Should I have gone? Maybe. But for me, what I needed in that moment, and that I stood my ground and I didn't really say, oh, well, these people are going to be disappointed in me. Oh, I'm going to power through
Mhm.
and outstretch myself even more to where it's a really bad situation. And I just think that that's so important that you also understand too if you're struggling, that it's okay to say no.
Yes.
Like it's
And
okay.
even if it makes people mad,
Yes.
it doesn't matter what they think. Like, what matters is you do what's best for you and your mind and your body, because I know I'm in that position a lot anymore, and I've been getting better about saying no, which I still feel horrible about.
Right.
Like,
Like it's
I
yeah.
am a people pleaser of an autistic, okay? That's a big thing in the autism community, especially if you're like a high masking autistic, is that like we have to please everybody. And I'm trying my best to break out of that, but even still, like, I'll try to step back from things because of my pain anymore or my health conditions that I'm dealing with. And I feel horrible every time. I feel horrible for just laying on the couch and not doing anything around the house. But the fact is, like, you need to do what's best for you, and even if other people don't agree with that, it doesn't matter because it's not their body and it's not their mind. You have to do what's best for you.
Oh, 100%. Like that's the thing. Like it is. And I think no one is going to know you better than yourself at the end of the day. And if you need that, you need that. Like there's been times where, like I said, like in the beginning, maybe in my journey, would I have maybe with G been like, oh, I can't say no. Now I'm just like, no. Oh, there's this going on. No, I'm not going to that. Sorry, you're going to go to that
Yeah.
thing. You know, and that's cool. It's fine. It's like, and look, I again, there is that guilt a little bit, but then I know when I give myself those days and I just am like, oh, I'm so glad I made that choice and I stood up for
Uh-huh.
myself
Yeah.
and not further outstretch myself. And I think, whatever is better for you too in the long run, because to me, what I like to do too is if I'm really going through something and it's been a while, I kinda gauge where I'm at too, is if I was doing better than I was 6 months ago or a year ago, then I'm doing great despite how I
Yeah.
feel right then. If I know and I look back, which yes, a year ago, I'm doing so much better than I was, and I think that I take that and I say, "Okay, like, you know, I'm okay." Even if I don't feel that way and I feel like there's everybody around me doing a little bit better than me, or maybe I don't think they're struggling, just from the outside, which you never know. So it's hard to gauge,
Yeah.
but it's
I was
like
gonna
for
say, because people could be doing a lot worse than what they lead on to.
oh, it's like you
Mhm.
said too, because you're someone that talks about masking, right? And I think of you
Mhm.
and how there's probably so many people that you don't know, and that's why I try and always I know it sounds so stupid and cliche, but kind, because you just
Yeah.
don't know. Even if there's this
It's
lady
true, you don't always know.
there's like this lady, it hit me today too. I was at the grocery store and I always see her and she's always is the cashier. She's always got like a mean look on her face and she's always kind of grumpy. And I used to be like, oh, like, mad about it. Like, why is she like, I'm just trying to here in Jersey, you got to like bag your own stuff and bring your own bags and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
sometimes, she goes a little fast and I don't know if she's irritated. And it just really hit me recently too, that past couple times I've been in her, God, register. Oh God, I'm like having a brain cramp, whatever, but her register. But when I'm in her, and I'm in her lane, so to speak, and it's like, instead of being like, wow, this lady's really grouchy, like, oh, I better hurry up. I'm almost like, wow, what is she going through
Yeah.
that maybe she's here for hours. She looks like she's in her 50s or 60s and she's doing this. And it's a job that I'm sure goes through a lot of shit with customers. And I just think that it almost makes me think like, instead of being like, I don't know, like, cause that's me, I'm like, "Oh, I gotta do this really fast and put all this stuff in my bag because I don't wanna make her more mad," and, like, and
Right.
instead of maybe being like, "Wow, she's so angry, I don't wanna go in her lane," maybe next time, like, I'll go in her lane and try and, like, "How are you doing?" and try and be that little, I don't know, light or happiness for that little bit and see, because I can tell, like, maybe there is something going on. I think if we look around people like that, who knows? And I think it's sometimes, like, even if you're at an event, because sometimes people have said that to me too, like, "Oh, you look mad," or,
Yeah.
whatever, and sometimes I'm just going through some stuff, and I'm there, I'm present, but I'm not there, and it's like,
I mean,
I
that or you could be like me, where you're just thinking so hard that you forget what your face looks like.
done, yeah,
You
that's
just, like, had the most disgusted look on my face, but when really I'm just thinking, "I wonder what Commodore's doing right now at
right.
home."
I mean, right? No, I'm with
Yeah.
you. I show everything through my face, so sometimes it's the same way where people will be like, "What's going on?" And I'm like, I don't know. I'm happy, and, like, if anyone talks to me or knows me, I'm a very happy, bubbly person, and I think it's also good to highlight with mental health is, even if you have things and you're struggling, just because you're happy doesn't mean you're not struggling,
Yeah.
and it's like, I can be happy, let me have my joy, like, when Good Charlotte likes our post, or when I get my
Yeah.
Snickers or whatever it is, like, let me
I
have
definitely
my
think
joy.
that's I definitely think that's another good point to mention is, like, people who, again, are trying to downplay with whatever experience you have, and they're like, "You seem awfully happy for somebody who's depressed
Mhm.
or somebody who's anxious," or, like, I hear a lot, like, "You seem, like, too with it to be autistic," and it's like,
Yes.
"That's not how that works."
Oh,
Like
oh my
yeah.
god. Like, yes, or when I tell people like, "Oh, I am definitely for sure think I have ADHD and I'm gonna go get it diagnosed and this and that." "Oh, no, you can't this and that." I was like, I told you, like, about a
Yeah.
conversation I had, I'm not gonna
Yeah.
mention, but I had a conversation, and my thing is that, it's, if you look at my house, you go into
Yes,
my
'cause
rooms,
oh, you
there
would
this
know.
is ADHD written all over it,
Yeah.
and you take a look, I think, and that's I'm not poking fun at anyone that has it because I know I have it, so I can make that joke without even being diagnosed, like, I'm probably off the
Yeah.
charts, but so it's like little things like that, it's like, you just don't know, and it's like, I hate that people say that. So I think if we just remember to be kind and respectful and, again, reach out and just be that person, and if someone says, especially like you, when you came out and
Mhm.
open about your autism diagnosis, if anybody ever said, "Oh, Justine's not, this and that," I'll be like, "Oh, look." Okay. Like, I would
Yeah.
defend, I mama bear would come out, because it's like, we can't sit there and tell people what they
You
aren't
can't
when
just
they know
know
what they
people's
are.
journey. You can't
Yeah.
know everybody's journey, but also, again, like, even with autism or anything else, like, it's not always gonna look the same to
No,
you,
no.
especially if you don't experience it. I think that's a big thing, especially with what happens with autism and online with a bunch of us that are out and living our lives openly, is that just because we don't look like your 5-year-old nephew that has autism
Right.
doesn't mean we don't have it,
Oh,
and everybody has good days, everybody has bad days, and you can't just judge from one thing or the other because, again, life is a roller coaster. There's going to be ups and downs, and it's not always going to look the same on the outside, but it doesn't mean it's not still there.
yeah, I think that, and again, I've learned so much about autism through you, and even for me to kind of take a step back and say that, and everybody is different. There's a spectrum for a reason, and that we have to be respectful of everybody and just listen. At the end of the day, listen. Again, that's like the big advice. Like, listen, and again, just because maybe you reached out to someone and you had a bad maybe a response or experience and you felt like you weren't validated, there is somebody out there. And if not, like you have two people here that will validate you very much so. And I think that's so important because that validation is important. And just, I know it's hard because I've been someone where I've gone up to someone and talked about my things and I felt not validated and it makes me shut down. But if you're someone that you think that you could maybe find someone else and you have that energy to maybe try again, keep trying and reach out. I know it's hard and it's hard to put all that on someone struggling. And I think if you're someone that loves someone with a mental illness or that is struggling, I think you should make sure you put in the work and not put all the pressure on them to always reach out. So I think that's just so important. I really do. So I mean, we've got you and you're doing great wherever you are listening to this. And I guess, oh my gosh, there's just so much stuff to like talk about World Mental Health Day. And like, as always, we just want to thank everyone and anyone that's gave and has given this podcast a chance. It truly means so much to us to have that support. We think anyone that has checked this out, even if you didn't like some of the episodes, I can't believe we are talking about 6 months of this podcast because I really didn't think it was going to happen for so many reasons. And again, Justine just saved this podcast and honestly made this podcast better than I could have ever imagined. Uh, if you see a cool social media post, if you see a cool idea, especially for the episode, you know that it is Justine. Her knowledge, strength, and just being herself has just made stereotherapy what it is today. And I think so many of you that are listening to this would agree with me as well. So I'm just throwing that out there, everybody, that you do. Truly
Well,
to
well, shucks.
but it's true. It's so
Yeah.
true. And it is. And I think that's just so important to say too. And I think, oh, just, yeah. I mean, I guess I'm just going to leave that there because it's just so important. I think everybody, I hope you found something you could relate to here and you feel less alone. And on World Mental Health Day, maybe we see those posts, but maybe we try and go a few steps further to help end the stigma. That would be wonderful. And again, remember if you are liking what you're hearing, to please say hi to us on Instagram. You can do that at stereo.therapy or stereo period therapy, whatever you prefer. That way you can find us and our website at www.stereotherapypod.com. And again, we would love to hear your story. If somehow music has made that lasting impact and impacted your mental health and made a positive influence, reach out to us. I don't care if you're a friend or you're going to be a new friend to us once we meet on Zoom over this. Reach out to us because we would love to have you on. That would be so amazing. And we will see you guys next Tuesday. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.